What's going on, everybody? It is Owning the Huddle podcast. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the new hire once again. Adam Peters is in DC. Also going to recap some of the playoff games this week with some of our candidates. Who impressed us the most this week? Who kind of disappointed? And why, as a fan base, we should not overreact to what we just saw, one sample size. It's me, DT, Breeze, and Ceelo on the Owning the Huddle podcast. Let's go.
I know it looks like Ceelo is at a hotel, but he disappeared. I don't know exactly where he is. But Breeze, what's good, man?
What's good?
There you go.
Is he back? Is he still frozen?
He trying to slide around the camera. Welcome back to Owning the Huddle podcast. Brother Deuce is here. He's here to defend his O-line. I'm getting sick and tired of you dudes, this fan base, talking about my O-line. We gonna handle this today.
Man said tell CJ to drop
that, bro. Y'all not
Nah, it's over. You already put it out there, DT.
I put Troy Apke because he ain't getting on the field. He ain't getting on defense at all.
See, that's the problem. You drinking that South Evil.
Seriously, he's gonna make the team, and he's gonna be a up back or something.
Up back is crazy. He's not making the team.
What is
if he makes this team as an up, you know what? Nope.
All the fans leaving again.
They love trap.
What's going on, everybody? It is Owning the Huddle podcast presented by RedzonedcMedia. It is your boy DT. And we got Ceelo tonight. Breeze is going to be coming in a little bit. So we back here on a Monday. First of all, happy Martin Luther King Day. Thank you for all the things you have done for us and the generations that you have bestowed upon us so far till today. So Ceelo, we have some big news over the weekend. I think they finally made a hire. Some guy named Adam Peters is now in DC, and he's looked like the man in charge for the Washington Commanders in the front office range. What are your thoughts about that, man? Like it feels very surreal. It feels very different to have something like this done probably the right way, right? Like us as an organization, we've seen it done so many different ways. Some ways it looked good, but then it phased out. Some ways it started out bad and it just made it even worse. How do you feel about this hiring process to identify that Adam Peters will be the guy to be leading the Washington Commanders?
I think it was very well kind of done, right, and planned out. If you think about, man, it started out with Bob Myers, who's the former executive for the Golden State Warriors. You got Spielman over there from the Vikings, and you got the rest of the crew, ownership group. I just thought it was very well, thought out from different perspectives. From the football side, and you had from just the executive side. And they had a thorough search. They had all the top dudes in there, right? Ian Cunningham, the dude from Philly, and a couple other guys in there. And it was just I felt like it was a very exactly what Josh said in his presser. It's going to be a thorough but quick process. They know it's important, but they want to move fast, but with intent. So yeah, man, I'm happy about it, man. Adam Peters, think about the 49ers these last 6 years. They've been very good, and it's a collective. It's the personnel side, it's the coaching, it's development. They had a ton of their assistants, both in the front office and on football side, to elevate and go on and be, head coaches. So that's the point. You want there to have like a foundation and a culture where people actually want your personnel, your execs. They want your assistant coaches, and you want your coaches to kind of get them opportunities. So I can't think of a better person, man. Based on his track record, I think it's excellent. Great fit, great hire. This is the first major move that Josh Harris and that group did. I think it's A+ move. That's a great. He wasn't even taking interviews last year, DT. He was declining interviews this time last year because he was not interested. He didn't want Tennessee. He didn't want I want to say it was Arizona. He declined all them joints, and so I think we're lucky to have him, man. For real, for real.
Yeah, most definitely, and that's a fair point, Ceelo. Like, I think a lot of people, and there were some people from the outside, you know, that was telling us like, "Oh, he's not going to take this job. He's going to be the next heir apparent to John Lynch, who is also head of operations over there with the 49ers." But it holds weight for Washington to not only get the top guy, but they had the resources for him that he felt like he could be successful here. And it holds weight that in years past, we would get turned down because of what we had up top. The dark clouds are gone. And that warms my heart, because now everybody sees that this organization is on the right track, and they took this job over the job that we had last year with the Titans and the Cardinals, and he's now in Washington with surplus money, a top 2 pick. More likely that will be addressed with whoever the top quarterback of their choice, and much more for Washington headed on. Just need to find a head coach now to lead the head of charge. What's going on, Breeze? How you doing tonight?
What's that? Fellas, I'm a little cold, you know. That white stuff outside, I don't like that, but you know, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
What's good,
Hey,
man?
pause. I need that here.
You said what, DC?
Yep. I need that down here. Your boy not trying to go to work tomorrow.
Yeah, see,
Be careful what you ask for now. Be careful what you ask for.
yeah, see, I'm considered essential personnel in my job, so the snow don't really matter. I'm gonna be working tomorrow. I don't know. I might catch the flu. I'm supposed to be at work tomorrow. What's up, Riri? What's up, Auntie?
It's live.
So Breeze, you were coming in on the conversation. You were coming in on the conversation when we were talking about Washington officially put ink to paper with Adam Peters being the general manager of the Washington Commanders. And we also know that a lot of people outside, you know, kind of said, well, I don't think he's going to take this job because he's going to have an opportunity to be the head guy with the 49ers. And knowing last year, he turned down those jobs as well. But how do you feel about this, how this process went? And what is your big reaction to now Adam Peters being the guy that's going to help out in Washington?
I love how the process went. I think it's, like, no exaggeration, probably the most thorough yet quickest hiring process that we've had in a long time. Like, usually, you know, it's a thing that takes weeks at a time for no reason. The coaching is a little bit different because obviously you want to interview people that are still working right now, so coaching thing takes a little different. But as far as the process of hiring Adam Peters, it was seamless to me. They had they identified their number one person, they interviewed him, and still did a thorough interview process. And then within a few days, 2-3 days later, he was, you know, accepting the job offer. So I love it. As far as my reaction, I said it on Twitter. I'm trying my best to exercise patience and being calm and not getting too excited, just because I have PTSD, and you know, we've all been let down. We've had high expectations and you know, been let down a lot. So I'm trying my best to not be too excited, but I am happy that things seem to be trending in the right direction so far.
Oh yeah, that's understandable. And I also, sometimes that part of me will creep up a little bit. It's like, it sounds too good to be true, but I think I put that on my 2024 resolution. I'm not going to think positive. We're gonna progress and move forward with whatever is coming our way. So This week, we all know the NFL playoff games are currently going on, and obviously we just got our GM right. Now the biggest task next is finding the guy that's going to coach up, have their staff, have the scheme, and be a leader of the men. That's talking about the head coach in the National Football League. So got a couple of our guys playing this week, and you know, offensive, defensive, special team, whatever. Some of them have showcased so far in the early stages of some of the things we like. Others are still kind of questionable. So when we're going through this process as fans, should we relax on just like overreacting because of a one game when we clearly have been watching this much football? These other teams, like I understand people just probably watched Ben Johnson for the first time last night. In the first couple of drives, quick strike, 3 straight 75-yard drives every time they got the ball. But then the next, second half, they were completely shut out. So I think that should be very exercised with this fan base because we're very overreactionary because we, once again, like you said, PTSD does kick in a little bit. Well, how do y'all feel about that? Because I feel like we're kind of overreacting right now with some of the candidates.
Yeah, I mean, based on obviously Twitter being the main source of seeing what's going on, the main source of seeing what's going on. Like, I see a lot of people. Granted, like Slowik and Ben Johnson had great showings for themselves yesterday, and Dan Quinn and Raheem Morris not so much. Well, Raheem Morris wasn't that bad, but Dan Quinn not so much. But like people are seeing. I think people are being they're overreacting to one game. Like we've seen, let's just take Quinn, right? He took Bland and Trayvon Diggs, and like he's built this great defense, and we've seen the Cowboys defense be dominant almost all season, right? They get into this game and they get smoked, and now Quinn ain't got it. I'm good. I'm out, bro. Like we've seen him be good, at least in that capacity, much more than we've seen him be bad. Now, most of us don't necessarily want him as the coach, but I'm just saying as our coach, but I'm just saying in general, I see way too many people overreacting to one game or one drive and all that kind of stuff. But, I get it. Fans gonna be fans, right?
Yeah, I think to that point, that's why you do interviews. That's why you have a plethora of the candidates, because you want to get their perspective. Like what did you do in these scenarios, and not just playoffs, but how did you go up against your division, right? How did you go up against certain parts of the season, and what would you do differently? You know what I'm saying? So you just hope that guys learn from their mistakes. I mean, think about Kyle Shanahan, right? I mean, y'all remember what was the big, was it 28-3, right? Like if they would have judged Kyle Shanahan off of that, then that we would never know about the great, sort of quote unquote great Kyle Shanahan from 49ers to this point. So you give guys grace and you understand, what they went through, how they get better, how they assemble their, all the other stuff. And so I agree with you, man. People overreact, and it's not that big of a deal, bro. It's a body of work, not just one game.
Yeah, and I love to remind people, although it's a very extreme example, I love to remind people that Bill Belichick had a losing record as a head coach with the Cleveland Browns. He got fired, whatever. He went from 1995, 96, whatever, to 2000 without being a head coach. Based on what people are saying right now in this era, he should never be a head coach again. He should you should not take a chance on this guy, none of that stuff. He then gets hired in New England and then becomes what most people view as the greatest head coach in NFL history. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do your due diligence, and you can't just look at someone's past as a head coach in again, Raheem Morris, Dan Quinn, the other guys that have been head coaches before. You can't just overreact to one thing. You have to do your due diligence and go through your process and see, if these people fit, what you want to do as a team, and so forth and so on.
That's very true, man. Like another thing that it's also bothering me, it's like we are critiquing every single play. Like people up here talk about, oh man, I didn't like that motion right there. It's like, bro, what?
Bro, it's crazy.
I'm not even looking at stuff like that, but people out here just tweeting the tweet, man. Like, relax, go touch some grass. It'll do you some good.
Go touch some grass. What up, Jeff?
Yo, what up?
So one thing I wanted to target as well. So there was another conversation that we had in Spaces today, and I kind of said this before. So when we're talking and this was a good conversation, by the way, when a lot of these candidates, some of these guys are in their first year of either calling plays on the defensive or offensive side. And then you got a couple of guys who done it for a little bit of a while, maybe 2 to 3 years, but they didn't put their name in the time to actually go out and become a head coach. So, and this is very strictly between, a lot of people getting the love to Bobby Slowik and also talk about Ben Johnson, who has shown consistency on his resume. Does the fact that Bobby Slowik first year as OC, that 1 year production, does that bring some slight concerns to an extent to you, Breeze? I mean, you're a head coach. I mean, you coach as well. You understand the schematics, stuff like that. Do you think that would bring some type of concerns? Because Ben Johnson has the resume. We've seen him have a top 5 offense past couple of years. And even though Slowik has shown great results this year, but a lot of people will probably point to, well, they just drafted the number 2 pick, and he looked like the best rookie out of his class is CJ Stroud.
So wait. I don't think wasn't he the who was he? He was an offensive coordinator last year. Slow it.
He was in San Fran. Yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, passing coordinator. Yeah,
gotcha.
No, I think it's always tough. We know people here are very impatient. So I don't know if you want to hire somebody that may take a year or so to get their feet under them. But I mean, if you're a good coach, you're a good coach. Like, I think, look at what the Rams did with Sean McVay. Like, Sean McVay will tell you that when he accepted that job, he didn't think he was ready for it. But they took a chance on him based on what they thought he could be. He took the job, and ended up being I mean, it's kind of caught up to him now, but like, he was a very successful coach very early on. Faster than he himself thought he would be. So if you identify a coach that maybe he might need a year or so before he's fully ready for it, he might just have to get some on-the-job training. If you identify him as being that, you might have to take a shot, take a chance with him.
Yeah, I agree. I think you should bring him in, obviously, see what he has to say in terms of interviews and stuff like that. Some guys just need a chance. I think it would be a little, like on paper, like you said, DT, maybe a little premature. But you would love to hear his thought process. He has a young, like you said, he has a young QB. Here's the thing. Like, do y'all think Stroud would have been as successful in Carolina as he was in Houston, right? Like, and so you have to ask yourself that question, because that people believe that Houston roster is a pretty competitive, pretty good roster. And they've been building that up for the last 2, maybe 3-ish years. And so CJ is really benefiting from a very, very strong foundation. Plus, he's a talented dude. But that's not the same in Carolina. Carolina's going through a legit rebuild. Remember they had a fire sale, C-Mac and DJ Moore, and so like it's situational, right? So Slowik comes in, and he's obviously he's benefiting from that as well. So you got to ask him and ask yourself, the next head coach, like, hey, we may kind of be like in between the Carolina and the Houston situation. So can you make it work? Based on some things we got to get for sure. So it really is situation. You got to ask him, like, how does your situation benefit, based on the last 2 years versus, a blank slate. You're going to have a brand new quarterback, just like you had in CJ Stroud. How are you going to deal with that difference? Yeah.
I mean, for a younger and or relatively inexperienced head coach, like we've seen teams do it, where they will take that young offensive mind or defensive mind, for that matter, that they think can be that next big thing, and they'll build a strong staff around him. So everything doesn't necessarily fall back on this one person. Again, with Sean McVay, when he took the job, having somebody like Wade Phillips as his defensive coordinator, and that all the way down the line. I forget who Kyle Shanahan had. Wasn't it like Mike Patton or somebody when he was in Cleveland? No, Patton was the head coach.
Peppers.
Patton was the coach.
Who was his DC? Oh, I got that mixed up. But yeah, like when you take a younger coach, you build a stronger staff around him, and it's a little easier to kind of aid in that development too. So especially if those coordinators and position coaches have been a head coach before.
Okay, so I'm glad you actually run the comparison to Carolina and Houston, because I think at somewhere around this point when they hired Frank Wright, a lot of people were glamour with the fact of how many offensive mind / quarterback gurus and people whisperers that was up on that staff for potentially a Bryce Young or CJ Stroud. We kind of felt like that was the right situation, but Lord behold, once we actually seen it and on Sundays, it reared its ugly head. And I think with Houston, I'm going to be completely honest with you. As an Ohio State fan, I watched CJ for his time at Ohio State. I thought he was going to be good. I didn't think he was going to be good now, to be completely honest with you. He kind of shattered a lot of expectations I had from him this year because I wasn't sure what the structure was going to be in Houston. Now, I know they built the offensive line very well, but also no guys have not actually played together as a whole the whole year. They kind of been in and out of the lineup. And, basically CJ kind of played with what he had, but because of the talent he kind of helps that offensive line as well. So does Slowik with his scheme, being from Shanahan as an underling. So I think stuff like that, man, it's all about situation. It's all about who you got the right people around you, and they see what the problems is and they identify it and they can do the best what they can with it. And for this potential staff that's come over here, I think we're going to be in that kind of territory. I don't think we're bad, but we're bad. But we have some pieces then and there. We just got to get more. We're missing a lot of spots on this team that didn't really get addressed with the past coaching regime.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with it being situational as far as success and development and all of that. For what it's worth, I thought CJ Stroud was a better pro prospect than Bryce Young, but I think that Carolina would be having the same kind of year that Houston is having? Absolutely not. Had they drafted CJ Stroud, no. Nor do I think that Bryce Young will be having the same success that CJ Stroud is having in Houston. So it's it's definitely situational as far again, front office structure, coaching staff, the players around you, even down to the scheme that you run, and maybe even the division that you play in. All of that kind of stuff is situational down to a T.
Yeah, I mean, very situational. That's why it's really it's interesting. I wish I could be in that room during these interviews, man. What do you point to? What do we have on offense? What can a coach leverage and refer to? Oh, Terry McLaurin, right? Maybe Sam Howell had a decent year. It just wasn't his time. Maybe he had a bad combo with him and EB. I'm curious to kind of hear, and I don't know how much these coaches study the team they're going to try to interview for. That's regular folks.
I'm sure they had a little crash course.
I know for me, if I'm interviewing for a company, I'm going to study a little bit about the position. I don't know how much these guys are in playoffs and all this kind of stuff, but I'm curious to hear their perspective, how solid is our roster, where the holes are, what would they do differently, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's some of the answers or questions you want to ask, and that gives you some perspective on how they can handle the situation going forward, because this may be a bleak, not to be doom and gloom, but it may be a little rough the first year, right? If you think about the pieces that we may need to be seriously competitive, not just a flash in the pan.
If you do it correctly, it probably will be a little rough. Although between having, as it currently stands, 9 draft picks and however many millions of dollars, I think I said it on X earlier. They could between the draft and free agency, they could easily add 10 players that contribute on the roster next season. Yep. So for an incoming coach, there's a lot to work with if you're willing to take the time and do it properly. There's a good, we have few players that we feel can be core guys, and we have a lot to deal with, but we just got don't sit here and say, "Oh, we going for the NFC East next year." That's not. If it happens, it happens. But like that shouldn't be your goal for next season, in my opinion.
And typically when you have that much turnover, like you said, 10 players, what is that? That's 25% of your roster, right? Or 20% of your roster. So, you need a coach that's going to, that culture piece and how to bring everybody together. And, like football, everybody, football, you go somewhere, have training camp, like offsite, or just trying to get kind of gel, all that kind of stuff. How is he going to approach that? And that's so much turnover. But you need the right guy for that, man. That's less X's and O's. And that's more like, people, personality, management, and all that kind of stuff. And you just don't know these young coaches. They ain't never done it before, right? You going from an OC to like everything, and so how do you balance that out? That's why I say if you go with someone like a Bobby or a Ben, it's got to be patient because they're going to be learning on the job a little bit, you know what I mean? And so we as a fan base, we got to give these guys some time and put their imprint on some stuff versus the instant success is all I'm saying.
For sure.
Right. And we have a freaking hard division too. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
this weekend is not a good example.
I get what you're saying. Like, it's hard now, but what we just seen from Dallas yesterday, and we don't know what's going to happen with Philadelphia. Like, this division going to have a whole entire makeover. And I just seen a report from the Giants. He over here having anger management issues like Adam Sandler. So, it's going to be interesting this offseason, man. But to your point, like 10 players and stuff, like we're having 26 as free agents. So that's going to be a lot to replace. And the other point that you guys brought up when like a lot of these coaches and stuff, they come in and try to watch the film on this team. For example, like EB. Now, I'm pretty sure EB had somewhat of a good glimpse of what he saw over here with, having like guys like Terry, a little bit of Brian Robinson, Jahan Dotson, and Curtis Samuel. But I think we're looking at that situation when these guys are looking at the team, and I might have to go back and listen to the press conference when we first hired EB because I can't really remember the plan that he had because now I'm like, okay, he left Kansas City knowing that, his team's far more talented than Washington. And even though he did not draft these guys, these were all Ron and leftover guys from Jay Gruden's regime. It still remains a question of like, okay, what can a person come over here and do better than the last regime did? Like, and that's always kind of been our thing with any coach. Like EB coming over here, we thought he was going to scheme to protect the offensive line, but we still gave up 65 sacks. Some of that is on the quarterback, and some of that is on the interior play and some of the tackles. And that was going to be better. We're kind of still stuck in the same place. So that stuff also kind of nerves me a little bit as well.
No, that's a good point. I was just checking up with this game, bro. This joint is crazy over here.
They about to pack him up, man. God,
it's too bad.
Yeah,
it's too bad. It's too bad. But
what's up, Maurice? Look like your first time on the channel. Appreciate you for commenting. Brian Flores, Jim Harbaugh, Raheem Morris, EB, Bobby Slowik in that order. Okay, that's actually a solid list. I don't see Flores probably leaving after 1 year with Minnesota. Harbaugh, that's kind of looking like he's going to the Chargers from what I was hearing. And Raheem Morris, I talked about that yesterday on the pod with Deuce and them. Like he's one of the top three guys. I understand we just had a conversation about coaching. And people were highly criticizing Raheem Morris, but he also showed he made second half adjustments and held Ben Johnson offense to like 3 points in the second half. EB, that's a touchy conversation.
So real quick, I'll take that one. I'll take that one. Because we talked about it on here a little bit. We talked about it a little bit on here, right? I think. And this is just my thought and my opinion. I think that as it currently stands, it is entirely possible, just based on this last season, that Eric Bieniemy would be a better head coach than he would be a coordinator running his own offense, based off of his personality and what he wants from his team and the culture that he's tried to build, that he came from in Kansas City. I think, and I'm not necessarily saying here, just in general, based on those things, I think Eric Bieniemy has the qualities of a good head coach, where he, maybe not so much as an offensive coordinator where everything falls on him. Now, in the OC role like he had in Kansas City, where it's a group effort, obviously we saw the results. But we also saw the results of this year where, okay, EB, this is you got it, boom. Like, I still think EB has the qualities to be a good head coach. Not saying he's going to be one, he will be one, he deserves to be one. I'm just saying, the pieces are there, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. That's a good perspective. I mean, some guys can be CEO, but they can't be like the IT guy, or they can't be like a details guy. They gotta just manage. They're a bit better managers than they are like individual contributors. So, I mean, that's possible.
We've already acknowledged on here that as far as like interviewing and talk, EB says all the right things. Like, if you take away the results that we just witnessed, EB can tuck his way into getting you to run through a brick wall for him. But now we have this body of work here in Washington, and it's like, I don't know about that. Like, you know what I mean? But that's just my opinion.
My only thing about EB that I don't understand, I wish someone that had better insight than we do, is my man can even get interviews, bro. Like you got Gerard Mayo, you got potentially Antonio Pierce. I mean, you have guys that have much less of a resume, and my man can't even get like interviews. Forget about the job. So that's what's killing me. That's all.
Yeah, and that leads to, I know, people love to throw out their reasonings for it. I think that part of it has to be an EB thing. It's something about him, something he's doing, something he's saying that's turning these people off. Because based on what he did at Kansas City, there's no reason most people wouldn't be like, oh, hell yeah, come on with it. Like, especially when you consider some of the other people who have gotten jobs. Like, I think it's something he's doing or saying in these interviews when he's had a chance to interview. It's something about him that's turning people off to him. That part I don't know, because like you said, we don't have that insight, and we'll likely never know what that is. But
yeah, crazy.
So,
I like that list though, DT.
Yeah, let me ask this though, because like we know that the Harris Group they did technically their due diligence in not firing Ron in the season, just to show that, hey, I'm not that type of owner where I'm going to fire a guy and just get out of the way and do all that stuff in the patch regime. He wanted to show patience among his peers. Now, with EB, though, it's like, don't you think, I know we had this conversation countless times, like, we feel like it wouldn't be beneficial for EB to actually be an interim and take away from him really calling the plays and stuff like that. He'll have to focus majority on what was the mess in Washington. But don't you think now, like, maybe like a little interim audition would at least help him right now with like getting an interview?
I believe so. I'm on record having said I wouldn't have fired Ron week 8 or nothing like that. But once you get to like 4 or 5 games left, and the season is cooked for us already, like we don't have anything to lose by firing Ron, at that point, I'd have been, okay, well, we already know that Ron is not going to be it. We might as well see what EB got in that role. Like, that's my opinion. Some people agree, some people disagree, but at that point, I would say they didn't win a game for 2 months. I would say week 13, 14, hey, Ron, I appreciate everything you did. You still on the front lines for a lot of BS that ain't have nothing to do with you, and I appreciate it. You went through a lot, personally, professionally, all that cool. Hey, we got to move on. I'm sorry. Like it's we basically just expediting the process. We planning on moving on to off season anyway, and we just want to kind of see what EB has or what somebody else may have, and give them a chance to show for themselves, for us, and potentially move forward if we move on from them too. But I think there was a way to do it where it's not like embarrassing Ron. So I think he did a good enough job of that himself. But there was a way where it could have been done to, EB or somebody else, if it wasn't EB, could have gotten an interim job and seen what we had, what they look like, all things considered, in the interim role.
Yeah, I've said the same thing before. Y'all heard me. That's the only thing I've disagreed with Josh and crew. I just think, and I get it. He probably, like he said in his press, he promised Ron and the city, which I don't even know what the city means, but he promised these entities that to give him the season. He did that. He lived up to his word. So it's probably bigger than just like what we're thinking. But from a football perspective, I just feel like when you're losing in that level, and the way that they were getting rocked, right? So these guys are professionals. They come to work every day. They're young. You got to do, sometimes you got to shake some things up. And it doesn't mean you're trying to necessarily win games, but you're just you need a new voice. Like they tuned Ron out. So I think they love Ron. I just think it was time. And I just would have loved to see someone else like an EB, since he's assistant head coach. I would love to see him, let's see what he can do for a couple games. Didn't he? Look at Antonio Pierce. He's about to get a new job based on like 4 games.
I have an opinion. I think the success that Antonio Pierce had scared some people off from that idea, because I've seen people say that, like, man, with Ron, people were they wanted a higher pick. They're like, man, EB might mess around and win us 1 or 2 games. No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Keep Ron.
Yeah, I get that too. I get that too.
I understand. You said, what do you say?
That probably was in play. I think like people are not going to really acknowledge it, but I'm pretty sure like it make this job, having the number 2 pick, it made it far more intriguing for someone to come on. Like, it's no way. Like, I'm not trying to say like they tank, but it's like, hey man, like
by week 17,
you see Miami, just play man coverage. Don't even play zone. Play man coverage.
You want to put Forbes out there? No, let me stop.
I'm just saying.
I feel like we did a disservice to EB in a sense, man. Like he decided to take the risk to leave Kansas City to be the offensive coordinator, knowing we didn't have the personnel for a lot of spots, knowing that he don't have Patrick Mahomes, knowing that he don't have a Travis Kelce. And could he have done some things better? We had this conversation multiple times. We know there are some things that he could have done better as an offensive coordinator, but it's also on the players too. But I just feel like if for him to do that, he should have some grace. He should have got an opportunity to showcase that he can coach in his league, regardless of how the players feel about him. Like that's y'all issue. That ain't my issue. Like at least give the guy an opportunity. Like the slander right now.
I don't think we did him a disservice, because he was aware of all of that coming into the job. But I do feel you know what I mean, like he didn't have an opportunity to do certain things. Ceelo saw me. I posted a few tweets last night, and people chose to lock in on one tweet. People chose to lock in on one tweet. You know what I mean, and disregarded all the other stuff I said. He bet on himself and he lost. A lot of us bet and parlay and all that kind of stuff. We lose a lot. That's essentially what EB did. He put in a 17-leg parlay and lost on it. Like, you know what I mean? He didn't come through. It is what it is. I think he's still a good coach. I don't think he's a bad coach, but he lost. And coaching is very much about, what have you done for me lately? So, yeah, you look great in Kansas City with a Hall of Fame quarterback, a Hall of Fame tight end, a Hall of Fame coach. You came here where you had a chance. We know that he didn't have a chance to really build and anything, and he was coming to play in the dirt, essentially. But he was aware of that. He got here, and he didn't look good. They won 4 games. Is that all his fault? Absolutely not. Does he share blame in it? For sure. Call myself for sure. So like you know what I mean. So like, what have you done for me lately? Lately, you won 4 games with it had a very bad running game. Your star receiver, your number 1 receiver, played 17 games, and it took him to the last drive of the 17th game to get over 1,000 yards. Like, these are things that matter. Your quarterback got sacked 65 times, and at one point was on pace to annihilate the sack record. Like, you have a role in that. So as a team, look, I don't think EB got done dirty. I think he bettered himself and lost, and now he has to build himself back up.
Yeah, I hope he to the preview to who was that earlier that was posting about the various coaches candidates. I think
Marius.
Yeah, I like the list, and I hope he at least gets interviews. He deserves an interview. He deserves for you to hear his story and get his perspective. I wouldn't, I'm not going to sit here and give him anything, but he definitely at least deserves to be on that candidate list. And worst case, depending on who they hire, they may want to see him as an OC again. We would never know. You never know. And I have a personal opinion about that, but it don't matter for me. It's going to matter about the coach and the system and all the other stuff that goes along with that. And so we'll see. You know what I'm saying? But man, the good thing about all this, bro, we got options. We are all of a sudden in the driver's seat, and I'm looking forward to the process.
Yeah, that's something I said last night. Like, EB, regardless of what we think and all the discussion we have, EB still has a job.
Yep.
Jack Del Rio fired. Ron Rivera fired. Martin Mayhew and Monty Herney seem to be well on their way out the door too. But EB, as far as people on that had positions of power on this team last year, EB still has a job. Like, he didn't get fired. It's just conversation and worthy conversation, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's fair. I think also, it might have dinged him a little bit in his resume, but I still think he's going to be highly regarded. Like Ceelo said, he could possibly be an OC somewhere, or he go to the KC recovery plan and go back to Kansas City, because clearly them guys need some over there as well, and they can probably do some things over there. But kind of enough with the EB conversation. So everybody's been talking about Ben Johnson as the head candidate. And now I think we have reached that point in Twitter where we're talking about marriages of the quarterback and the offensive minded coach. A lot of people are questioning, can a guy like CW fit in what Ben Johnson going to do, or is a perfect fit for Drake May, or it's way early and it's way early for these conversations. But I think the best offensive coordinators, they adapt, or some people are the type of kind of strict, like EB in a sense. Like EB was very strict in the sense of he was going to run his offense no matter what. Like how do y'all guys feel about the difference? They're going to adapt, or a guy that's going to run the play as it is?
I mean, speaking for myself, also with me being a coach, like when I run an offense, I run it based on the personnel that I have. Now, I'm a high school coach. That's a little bit different, because sometimes I just got to deal with what I get versus being able to actually really go out and throw money at people and sign people that fit what I want to do. So it's a little bit different. But like in my playbook, I have, 3 wide, 4 wide. I had school's closed tomorrow, PG. 3 wide, 4 wide. I have, 2 tight ends. I have 2 backs. I have a 3-back set. Like, I whatever walk through that door for training camp to start, hey, I got something for it. You know what I mean? So I believe that offensively and defensively, but more so on offense, the best coaches can adapt to what they have to at their disposal. So if you have a suspect offensive line, you probably don't want to drop back passing 70% of the time. Just say it is what it is. Like if you have a quarterback that's a little shaky in the pocket and maybe doesn't have the strongest arm, not talking about Sam, but in general, you probably don't want to have a bunch of deep, long development passing plays. You want somebody who can get the ball out of his hands and let your playmakers make plays and so forth and so on. Even on the defensive side, if you have man cornerbacks, you should probably let them play man and not have them run in zone. If you have safeties that aren't great at covering, you should probably scheme around that. Maybe zone, maybe play close to the line of scrimmage. So, like the best coaches, in my opinion, adapt to whatever what they have to use, what they have at their disposal, and not just, hey, I'm gonna make you do this, and if it don't work, that's y'all problem.
Yeah, I like your thinking, Breeze. I feel like in NFL, coaches ain't that flexible. And maybe they want to be, but they can't be because practices are limited and you don't have time to do some of the stuff that you just articulated. But for some reason, it feels like a lot of offensive coordinators seem to, square peg, round hole kind of people, right? Or they're like, it's my system. I'll be a little bit flexible. I may run more than I want to, but I'm not straying away too much because you got to go and study or you got to go and figure out, the playbook. So, I think the Kyle Shanahan approach and the McVay approach and the way they've been able to tailor their offenses to the personnel, I think is the exception. I don't think we know enough about guys like Slowik and Ben Johnson and Callahan because they got all top picks. You know what I'm saying? Like they all got Goff is a former number 1 overall pick and CJ Stroud and Burrow in Cincinnati. So it's really hard to figure out if they're really that good or if the guy is that good. I mean, sometimes talent outweighs everything. So I don't know, man. But to your question though, DT, I would love for a coordinator to say, man, listen, we're weak at right guard. For example, not for real. We're weak on the right side. Our center is very let's say young. We don't have a lot of experience there. So protection is going to be a little shaky. Let me try to scheme around that a little bit so we don't have to put all that emphasis on that center and that quarterback. Stuff like that. Like you would like to at least account for your deficiencies in different parts of the of the field and then have them execute that way versus, damn it, I don't care. I'm just gonna run my playbook and y'all better just figure it out, right? And that's how it feels like it went with EB and other coaches around the league. It's not just EB, by the way. A lot of coaches do that. So, I agree with you. I agree with Breeze. I would love to be able to tailor whatever you can to the person's skill set. I just don't think it happens enough in the NFL. But the colleges and in high school, it feels like they do it all the time. Colleges be real creative. They do whatever it takes to win. They'll run 55 times and the guy can throw 10 times. They're going to win. You know what I'm saying? But in the NFL, it's weird. Everybody got egos. So I don't know.
Yeah, we've seen it a lot here specifically, unfortunately, more so on the defense side of the ball, where it's like, hey, I want to run XYZ, and I know you've played zone your entire career, but you're gonna be a man corner today. Right. Or I know you've been a coverage linebacker, but you gonna play on the outside and blitz today, or whatever the case may be. Like we've seen it a lot with guys playing kind of out of position. Oh, I know you've been a defensive end or a defensive tackle, but you're gonna play nose tackle for now. Like it's just kind of making people do what they want to do versus using them to the best of their abilities.
Yeah, I seen Maurice had put Bobby Slowik off the Shanahan tree, and we know Shanahan. He's very, very infamous for adapting his scheme into wherever the quarterback is, whether it's a dual threat or a pure pocket passer. I just think for Slowik, I know some people are concerned about like the 1 year thing with CJ Stroud, which I don't think that'll be bothersome, but I just think the situation is probably too good to leave a CJ Stroud after 1 year. Probably want to run it back again to build his resume up.
Yeah, I agree. They may want to do that. I do like his background though. He's from the Shanahan tree, like was just said. I like anything from the Shanahan tree, bro. Like him and McDaniels and all those dudes. I just like the way that they incorporate the run in their offense. It's so run dependent. Like they run the ball a lot and different. And it's not just like straight up at you. It's like all variations of the run game. And I love that, man. So I do like his background. I know he's not experienced like you just said, DT, but I do like his background based on where he came from and how he employs that offense.
And like just watching them play Saturday, like the first thing I just thought of was like people are wide open. Like I felt like I was watching the
and that's
Greg
a good
Roman's
defense
offense.
they played. That was a good defense they played. That wasn't like nobody. Like that was the Browns been like killing it.
Yeah, that's
Amen.
perfect. Like that's a perfect resume right there. So I think right here, like we talk about a lot of these candidates, and I know with Breeze, he already said countless times since he's a coach, like, give me the guy that wins. It don't even bother him. So, Ceelo, who would you prefer, and what is your list look like for the head coaches?
Oh man, I had a list I posted the other. So, like I said just now, I like the Shanahan tree. So I think I do 10. If we went, offensive head coach avenue, I like Slowik. I like Ben Johnson. I think I like Slowik a little bit better than Ben Johnson. I am curious to see what Harbaugh brings. I know that's a kind of a touchy subject for some people, but I feel like but I do feel like he has a knack for getting the best out of players. And if you're about to go and grab you a Caleb or Drake May or Jaden Daniels even, I think he can get those guys to like level up, whatever it may be in their game. So those are the top three. If we go defensive, I'm all over the place, bro. Like defensive, it can be a lot of guys. It can be Raheem Morris. It can be McDonald up the street. I don't want to go to a 3-4. I know that's weird, man, but that 3-4 makes me nervous.
PTSD, dog.
Well, we didn't have the personnel for it, though.
You say we don't?
We didn't have the personnel. That was the biggest problem
At the time. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like it depends on what he thinks we have today and how. And it's not really a true 3-4. It's like a modified 3-4. So we may be able to run it. I just feel like you're right. It's PTSD. So if we go defensive, McDonald up there in Baltimore, or even a defensive coordinator, Detroit's defensive coordinator was Aaron Glenn. I think
those guys, those coordinators, all of them are running a type of 3-4 defense.
You're right. That's what I'm saying. Although I don't know how I feel about that.
The Rams do? The Rams got 1-3-4?
Nah, I think Raheem Morris is a 4-3 guy.
But I thought the Rams were 4.
They run a 3-4.
Oh, you're talking about? Oh yeah, because they got obviously they got 99.
Yeah, they run the 3-4 in LA.
He definitely ran the 4. Let me tell you that. I tell you what.
Yeah, he started 4-3, but I think for the Rams he kept the same personnel they had. He just running a modified version of it.
Because he definitely ran a 4-3 here under I think it was Greg Williams or maybe not. Maybe it was after Greg Williams. He was DB coach at the time, though.
Yeah. I forget who it was now. Joe Barry? Was it
23?
Hold on, I'm trying to think now.
No. Who was before Joe Barry?
It was my man from Pittsburgh.
Haslett? Was it Haslett?
Haslett.
Yeah.
So that was a 3-4, right? Wasn't Haslett 3-4?
Yeah.
So maybe he is a 3-4 guy. Maybe it's a 3-4 guy.
Raheem Morris is coach though. Like he's been a receiver coach. He's been a passing game coordinator.
I know.
Like,
he's done a lot. And he's been a head coach.
Like that's another reason I like Raheem Morris is because he's a smart coach with a lot of experience. I know he wasn't that successful in Tampa, but
but that was a long time ago. People changed.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Like a long time. Like Josh Freeman was his quarterback. Like that was a long time ago.
Josh Freeman, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yo.
Like, that was over 10 years ago. Like that was a very long time ago. Because he came here. He was here with Haslett after he was a head coach, and that was Ron been here 4 years. At least that's got to put it at least 8-9 years ago.
Yep.
I like Raheem Morris. I personally, if we do go defensive, I like Raheem Morris. I think he's like I said, he's a good coach. He's a smart coach. His players love him. I know that because I personally know people that have played for him. If we go defensive, Raheem Morris is at the top of my list. But I understand where the league is at, and you know.
If we go defensive, I'm going to want to poach a coordinator, right? Like I'm probably going to go a different route. You feel me? Like I don't know, man. Like I may go and check out like Wes Phillips, for example.
So
out there in the Vikings, you know.
Can I ask a hypothetical?
Let's listen.
Hypothetically, let's say we do go with Ben Johnson. Do you think it's possible that we could poach Aaron Glenn if he doesn't get a head coaching job by giving him an extra title like an assistant head? I don't think they'll do it because Aaron Glenn has never been a head coach. He's still fairly young as far as coaching in his coaching career, I should say. But like you give Aaron Glenn a defensive coordinator / assistant head coach title or something like that. You know, the title maybe not meaning much, but it's just enough to pry him away from Detroit, and it's somebody that he's familiar with working with.
So I like that idea. My only thing is I feel like because Ben is kind of like so because Ben is going to be a relatively younger, inexperienced head coach, right? They may
years old, I think.
Yeah, right, 37, which I think is still pretty young. They may choose to go a very veteran approach from the defensive coordinator position. Like, so they may want to bring in like a, McDonald or, someone who's really, really like been around for a while. That's the only reason I think maybe like Adam Peters may say, hey, listen, we may need a little bit more balance and shake it up. But other than that,
I agree with you. It was just hypothetical. I think
I like it.
I think if they were to hire like Ben Johnson or Slowik, who are I think actually Slowik is younger than Ben Johnson is.
Is he?
Yeah, by like a year. I think it's either 36 and 37, 37 and 30. I don't remember, but they're both fairly young guys to be head coaches. Still older than Sean McVay somehow, I think. But neither here nor there. I think if they were to go that direction, like I agree that the likely course of action would be to get a more veteran, more experienced defensive coordinator.
I got a hypothetical for y'all.
Okay.
Would y'all be so he just lost? Would y'all be willing to give a draft pick for Sean McVay?
What draft pick? Which draft pick?
A first.
Whew, no.
Because I have to say first because isn't that what Sean Payton went for? So
he did go for a first, but
I think McVay's going to require it first. He's a Super Bowl winning head coach, and he won within the last 5 years.
I think Sean McVay is a great coach. I'm not giving up the number 2 over. When you have
it could be future. It could be future. Maybe it's a 2025.
I can't do it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, Slowik, Ben Johnson is looked at right now in many circles as the next Sean McVay. So I can hire you for free. I'm not finna give you my number 2 overall pick for Sean McVay. Like sorry.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. He might want to come home.
Now, if I was a team like Dallas or something, like a better team with a lower draft pick, I would be more willing to do that. But the Commanders with the number 2 overall pick, I'm not. I ain't.
That is a lot. I agree, but I'm just tossing it out there. These guys. Adam may be thinking of like everything, all the options.
Hey, I'm not mad at it, and he's connected. So like he's plugged in. So we going. Yeah,
he knows. He knows McVay. He knows McVay in that area and through Shanahan.
Now, I will say this. If it's Raheem Morris possibly being head coach, I could see a guy like LaFleur's brother or Zach Wilson coming over being the offensive coordinator. Them guys learned under Sean McVay, and they technically are in the Shanahan / Gruden family, and that's kind of the offense I want to run. I think to me, like
Mike LaFleur also, right? Mike LaFleur.
Yeah, I think it's easier to me to figure out the defensive coordinator what offense would they like to run than the offensive minded coach what defense they would like to run, because it's like I'm still trying to learn Ben Johnson, so I don't know what his vision going to be for defense. And I know Slowik was with the 49ers, but I don't know like his connections. I don't know his connections like that other than the 49ers from what we've seen. I know he was with us first couple of years, but
I think he was in
the
no, was he? Hold on, I can look this up right now because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Let's look up Bobby Slowik's.
Oh no! No, sir.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
You know what's crazy? If you Google Bobby Slowik, this is still his picture on Google.
They still got his picture up there. That's crazy.
From the Redskins. That's still the lead picture. That is crazy. So San Fran, yeah. I ain't gonna lie, Slowik's resume ain't the craziest thing in the world. To be honest with you.
Who was that?
Bobby Slowik. Yeah, his resume is not crazy at all. Like,
yeah, he was defensive for a second, and he went to.
It's the defensive assistant, defensive quality control coach, offensive assistant, offensive pass game specialist, offensive passing game coordinator, offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Over a 13, 14-year span.
Wow.
Yeah, ain't exactly nothing to write home about.
Look like we're going to have to do a little bit of research after this show tonight.
Hey, man, let me see. If you're going defense, go to the Ravens coordinator, then the Ravens destroy the 49ers defense coordinator.
I wonder if he's talking about is he talking about Monken or he's talking about McDonald?
No, he's talking about defensive coordinator McDonald. He's talking about McDonald. Yeah, he's saying the Ravens.
He said the Ravens destroyed the Niners defensive coordinator. That'd be Monken.
Oh, I read that differently. Okay. Sorry.
Or maybe I think it's a typo because he said if you're going to go defense, go to the Ravens coordinator. I don't know.
I think he meant. I think he's talking about McDonald.
I think so too.
Yeah.
We interviewed him though. We interviewed him Tuesday.
Yeah, we did. We interviewed him and we interviewed his assistant, one of the defensive assistants,
he's
right?
Up there. Yeah.
No, yeah. We did it virtually, but yeah.
I think he's up there still. I like his defense.
Yeah.
I think there are enough holes on this defense, and thanks to position flex, possibly enough players. That's a lie. A few players that can move around and
that's a four-letter word
and could fit could fit in a 3-4. But I would rather we not run it. I'm with Ceelo. I got PTSD from running the 3-4. I'm good.
Y'all don't want to see Deron Payne over the nose, zero technique.
I would rather if that's what we do, I would rather kick Payne and Allen both out the end and go get a real nose tackle.
I want to go back and get Tim Settle. He could throw them over nose tackle. Man.
What's Matt Ioannidis doing, by the way? All the people that was losing their mind about.
I think he out of work.
Yeah.
I forgot about Ioannidis, bro.
Well, they don't let you forget about him on the Twitters.
Yeah,
he was the best thing since sliced bread.
Man,
that's
not true. A lot of people run 3-4.
We just seen teams run it this weekend.
Yeah.
I think the 3-4 is getting more popular again. Actually.
Yeah, someone said it on the pod. I mean, on one in social media that it's like 10 teams right now running it. So let's say 10 out of 32. So definitely a lot more than has been.
Those branches are expanding throughout the league more and more.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, Seahawks. Nobody runs a true. Like nobody stays in there. No, I mean that's too. Like nobody stays in their base defense 100% of the time. So you have teams.
it'll be hybrid because of the 11 personnel, how everybody's spreading each other out.
Right. Or like no back or you have no, you have empty backfields all the time. You got to go nickel and dime all the time. Like you're forced to go in a different front.
Yeah. And we seen how Dallas got destroyed yesterday because they had like 6 defensive backs, and they said, okay, you're going to do that. We're going to run these counters and zone stretch plays with Aaron Jones and carve y'all up because y'all ain't been good on run defense the whole year.
I think Aaron Jones just ran another 45 yards, like just now. Bro, I ain't never seen that. Like, that was a clinic, bro. Like, all the time we've been asking ED to run and all that. I kept having, like, flashbacks. Like, bro, this is old school. It was like, we're going to run it, and you can't stop it. Good luck.
Hey, everything moves in waves. So the spread offense came out. Defenses got smaller and spread out to help stop it. Now you're seeing teams start to go back to doing a little bit more power stuff because defenses are smaller and can't stop, power. They can't. They're more susceptible to power plays. You come. That's why Derrick Henry is so successful. That's why you see some of these bigger, stronger running backs being way more successful because you got guys that 10 years ago would have been playing safety. They're defensive ends. Like, you know what I mean? So it'll come back. It'll come back around.
Yeah, that third linebacker, people got to find that guy out there because they're not on the field as much because that third defensive back.
Yeah. That's it. I'm for whatever at this point. Like I said before, I want to win. I don't have the answers, and it's not my job to have them. Like I said, they haven't pulled my application yet. I haven't got a call back from my interview. So, I don't know. I don't, you know what I mean? But, whatever. If it works, it works. I'm not going to sit there and be like, I don't like this because I don't want to run this defense. I don't want to run this offense. Man, listen, if it worked, it worked.
Oh, man. Lombardi went back to yeah, they did though. All right, so I think this is pretty much it for tonight, fellas. We'll probably be back again. We probably might do something this week. Peter's gonna be talking at 2:00, and then be hearing more about the interview. So you guys can catch us on social media. We be in spaces majority of the time, except for Breeze. He ain't trying to be listening to us talk all the stuff. But
I did. You know what? I might have some for y'all this week, though. I might have some. I'm thinking of. I'm gonna tell y'all on here. I might be starting my own space during the week, one day a week.
So I'm talking about. Okay. Tune in. That's the teaser, y'all. That's the teaser.
He teasing. But you guys can keep up with all the updates on Twitter. We've hosted spaces every day from 11 to 2 p.m. This is Enter the Lab podcast with your host DT, Ceelo, and Breeze on deck with us.
This is on the Huddle podcast, but DT is also part of Enter the Lab podcast. But
that's exactly, yeah.
Check both of them out.
We're an umbrella organization. We all for the people.
love the advertisement, brothers. Love the advertisement. I know. But we're gonna catch you guys another time. This is On the Huddle podcast presented by Redzone DC Media. And you guys have a great night and have a Martin Luther King Day. Have a great day. Indeed.
Do it because you